Get ready for your daily dose of marketing strategies and tactics from entrepreneurs with the guile and experience to help you find success in any marketing capacity. You're listening to Marketing School with your instructors, Neil Patel and Eric Sue.
Welcome to another episode of Marketing School. I'm Eric Sue.
And I'm Neil Patel.
And today we're going to talk about how to get started with podcast advertising. So podcast advertising, I mean, it can be pretty lucrative. I mean, if you listen to any podcast at all, you're going to hear kind of the usual suspects, right? You hear MailChimp, you hear Squarespace. A lot of these companies are putting good amount of money into podcast advertising, and we've actually had people reach out to us a couple of times to advertise on this podcast as well. If you wanted to get started with podcast advertising, if you wanted to keep it very easy and kind of hands off and have somebody else do it for you in the very beginning, and just let me back up a second. Usually, in terms of kind of what you're trying to make or what you can make from podcast advertising, you're looking at cost per 1,000 impressions. So that's your CPM. I'd say anywhere from $15 to $40. That's kind of the range that I'm getting from podcast pros right now. So, if your podcast gets, 1,000 downloads a month or so, well, then that means, you can make $15 to $40, right? So hopefully you're getting, much more downloads than that. But anyway, if you wanted to do a kind of more hands-off solution, you can use a service like Midroll. Midroll is kind of a middleman, and then they have an inventory of podcasts. You could ask them, hey, you guys help me with the advertising, and then they'll take a cut of it, and then you can go from there. But that's a simple way to get started.
Yeah, and to keep in mind when you're telling people you get $40, $50, is that per ad placement, or is that for all the ads within your podcast?
Yeah, that's a good point. So, a lot of times people will ask, well, how many downloads are you getting per episode, right? And then sometimes I'll go back to them, just to kind of entertain. I'll say, oh, we don't really look at that. We're looking at total number of downloads per month, and they're actually okay with that.
Okay, I get that part, but what I'm trying to figure out is for our listeners, let's say someone gets 1,000 listens, and you said they'll make $15 to $45 or whatever it may be. Is that per ad placement? Like if MailChimp advertises?
Oh yeah, that is per ad placement.
And then how many should people place within a podcast?
That's a good question. So looking at what Tim Ferriss and Lee Dumas do, I know Lee Dumas, he likes to do he'll do a mid-roll, or he'll do a pre-roll, and then he'll do a post-roll. So a pre-roll is basically before the podcast starts, and he'll do one after as well. Actually, thinking about Tim Ferriss, he actually has 2 ads at the beginning and 2 ads at the end, right? So he actually has 4 ads. And I know Lee Dumas likes to do at least 2 to 3. So you could potentially make, if we're just using the original example, instead of making $15, you could crank it up to $45 or even $60.
Yeah, which isn't bad, right? So the numbers really start adding up in total. It sounds like for every 1,000 listens, you can get well above 50, maybe even 100, depending on how many ads you place in there.
And I think it's also really important. I mean, if you look at ours, because usually our episodes are 5 to 10 minutes or so, we can't really place that many ads. So it also depends on the length of your podcast episodes.
Technically, we don't even place ads.
Yep.
But yeah, if you're trying to advertise within podcasts, it works quite well. It's more of a branding play. I don't know too many people who are getting a huge direct ROI from podcast advertising, maybe lead pages. They're really by the numbers with this kind of stuff. But most people, they're not getting like a huge ROI directly every time they advertise in podcasts.
So, I mean, if you want to get started with podcast advertising, you can go to a mid-roll, or you can do it direct. If your podcast starts to take off, don't worry, people are going to start reaching out to you. I'll tell you that Freshbooks has reached out to me in the past. So has Hostgator as well. So they are starting to take this a little more seriously. And, like Neil and I mentioned, even if it's a $15 CPM all the way up to a $40 CPM, you can crank that up by 3 or 4x. If if you really want to go down the advertising route. For us, at least right now, we don't want to do any advertising. We're just focused on growing the podcast, and we want to keep it a really good experience, and we want to keep doing giveaways, which is why I want to talk about the next giveaway, which is Crazy Egg, which is a heat mapping tool that's actually Neil's. So Neil, what is Crazy Egg?
Crazy Egg, as Eric mentioned, is a heat mapping or a visual analytics tool. Shows you where people click, where they don't. You can even see how far people are scrolling down your page, because if your important messaging or your call to actions are too low, it'll show you that no one's seeing them. If you want to see how people navigate through your website, we also have mouse recordings, so you can see how the users who are buying are going through your site versus the users who aren't buying, and make adjustments from there. We also have a WYSIWYG, so you don't need any design or development skills. You can make changes to your website within Crazy Egg. And even with a few clicks of a button, you can start running A/B tests.
So if you want to get in on this giveaway, we're giving away a 1-year annual subscription. That is every single week we're doing this giveaway. So you can actually get multiple entries. And if you want to learn more on how to actually do this, just go to singlegrain.com/giveaway. We will see you tomorrow.
This session of Marketing School has come to a close. Be sure to subscribe for more daily marketing strategies and tactics to help you find the success you've always dreamed of. And don't forget to rate and review so we can continue to bring you the best daily content possible. We'll see you in class tomorrow, right here on Marketing School.